contested pick in general in this matchup.
Kestrel going to be taken off the board. We know how much Truth likes to play that, and Hammy, so removing that one. But the Scarf taken away, we saw Hammy absolutely demolish on the Scarf in game number 1, so not at all surprised to see that back.
Yeah, especially when you have the low mobility of a Rhyme, but Gray's going to come out, so it's not going to be Evol on the Lance. It's going to be Pawn the Original with the Lance almost assuredly, because I don't think it's something that Hammy plays. I think the lane Lance is something that's exclusive to Kvalifar. But coming into now this next pick for Nova, that's a big front line that they're going to have to try and get past.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing I don't really like it. I mean, Lance can be an aggressive jungler, not against the Rhyme though. It's more of a protective jungler. Again, doesn't play into Pawn the Original strength. And taking the Lance away from Evil, it might still all end up working for Rogue. It's just not playing into your strengths. Rogue were they were playing really well into their strengths, and they were able to identify them so far into the season. This time though, in this matchup, I'm not sure why they're trying to experiment more.
I don't think this isn't that much of an experiment for them though, because it's still that protect the carry composition, and Rogue excels with that composition regardless of if Pawn is being an incredibly aggressive jungler or not. If he's on a bruiser that can protect Hammy, that's where Rogues excels incredibly. Obviously, they would prefer to have that more aggressive style jungle, but even with this setup, I think they're in a great spot to try and keep Hammy safe. Although Lyra portals, if you portal a Rhyme on top of a carry, they're not going to be going very far. So that could be something that Nova really try and work. And if you bring a Jewel with you too, it's just going to be a party.
Wow.
This is all kicking off now. Now we've got the Jewel locked in. We talked about this pick coming into the matchup. Rogue, they have to decide what carry they want with this kind of protect the carry composition that we talk about so much.
I mean, the really strong carries they have left are CP Idris and Celeste. So they go for the Celeste instead of the CP Idris. A very strong composition coming from Nova. I actually really like their drafts, both this game and the last game. The Jewel, they're saying, Rogue, we're going to beat you with your pick. We're going to have a much more aggressive overall composition, especially since Rhyme can beat up the Lance in the jungle matchup. Lyra is great for sustain too, so even if they don't get ahead, they can play a little bit with her sustain. Rogue, they do have a very specific composition with the Celeste.
Yeah, they certainly do. I'm excited to see how this one is going to pan out. Who's going to be on the front foot at the start of this game, Bacon?
Early on, you got to figure it's going to be the side of Nova that's making the first moves.
All right, we'll see if they can bring that into a victory. We've seen 2 very snowbally games. Let's see if the third one's going to be any closer. Hashtag Vainglory 8. Let's see who's going to move on into our final as I pass it back to Jaws and Denominate.
Game 3 now underway. 1 apiece right now, and Rogue, they got their hands on the Lance, but this time it's actually going to be going on to Pawn the Original rather than Evil, who's actually taken the Grace.
Yeah, and, you know, this weapon Lance can definitely be a huge threat onto squishy targets, but looking over at the side of Nova, we don't really have the squishiest of targets, except for maybe Delphi before he builds up that fortified health. And now Evol with a very aggressive rotation here. It is going to be Nova just starting up this Triantha.
Yeah, they're going to be able to take that away quite easily, as in fact, Evo has made his way all the way to Nova's back. Seiko's going to be there as well. He's going to seal away a couple of those, so he's told 1 apiece. They're going to split that one nice and even. However, a small fight is going to break out as Hammy does end up choking the potion there. Nova's going to find the first blood. Lone Delphi's securing it. Pawn's going to get chased out as well.
Yeah, Truth pretty low as well, but he has saved his flask, and that is an important thing to make note of here. Obviously, that discipline, knowing that he was going to survive, he has not had to waste that proc. He might use it now, though.
Nice route onto Truth. Impale does land. Githian wall onto 3 members as well, but he's going to have to run away rather sharpish. Hammy making his way towards the fight as well, but hang on a second. Pon just picks up the kill onto Truth, all grouped up, no worries. They do trade 1 for 1 in that small exchange. 2 kills. 2 kills to Nova, 1 to Rogue, 1 to Truth technically, as we're already into 2 minutes into this game.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Truth. He actually didn't use his flask at that fight at all, and I don't understand why give up a kill at that point. You know, obviously going back into the lane, there's going to be a pretty sizable amount of time before you need that active again, as obviously the escape that we have on this Jewel, that Rocket Leap, can be used to get out of danger. So at least in my opinion, I think Truth gave up a pretty unnecessary kill there, giving some gold over into Pawn the Original's pocket. And we'll probably see the Sorrow Blade first item come out on Pawn, just looking for that raw damage on those impacts.
Yeah, Lone Delphi did secure both of those kills for Nova, however, so he'll be bolstered in his early game aggression and what he can do. Now, Hami's going to get bullied out here quite considerably. Truth and Eco are going to put up a mean fight up in this lane. Evil now deciding to actually walk around with Pon in the jungle to try and disrupt Lone Delphi. The Elder Treant has spawned yet again, and Nova, they want to take control.
Yeah, Nova definitely looking to do so. However, the gold lead pretty negligible at this point. You know, there's not really a whole lot going on here. Hammy is low on health and energy, so will not be able to rotate down here with his team.
Pon's in trouble. Holy Nova's going to come through. He's actually going to knock up Eco, and Pon's actually going to use the boost to get out of there. A cheeky recall by Truth, I must say, does actually just piece on out of there as Lone Delphi does chase Pon away from the rest of his jungle. Eco does end up moving up as well.
Yeah, and, you know, Pawn, now that he has picked up that Treant, might even look to come and fight here, but Delphi picked up the Elder. Here we go.
Oh boy, Pon's going to get jumped on. Lone Delphi did take the Elder Treant, got that healing to his name as well. Hammy's going to make his way towards the brush as well, but they are just going to back off rather tightly. They knew Truth was coming around from the side, and if they got pincered between a Rhyme and a Jewel, that was going to lead Rogue to be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, definitely going to. And now I like the Celeste going into the Rhyme. I do think that Celeste outtrades Rhymes in most situations, but this Jewel does so much damage in the late game with that critical damage, and now it's Truth making another rotation down here, Joss.
Oh my goodness, Rocket Leap onto Evo. Pon's in a lot of trouble. Impale does end up missing, locked in the animation. See you later. Lone Delphi takes up his third kill of the game, and Evo's in a lot of trouble as Truth chases him out, but Crystal Sentry's got you back this time. Eco's going to lay down that sigil for the movement speed boost. 3 kills onto this Rhyme at 4 minutes in. It's looking very good for Nova at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely is, and Rhyme is a pick that we've really seen come into light in both Europe and in North America. He is so strong into the current meta right now, specifically into the weapon power melee junglers, as, you know, anytime Rhyme is dueling out in a melee situation, except maybe a Krull, he's pretty much always going to win out because of that fortified health he gains. Lone Delphi going that typical Shatterglass first item route here, and Evil looking for some damage on Truth as well. Big red buttons online, but as a weapon Jewel, you know, shy of sniping out a very low health target, that is not going to be a useful tool for Nova in most of these fights.
Oh man, well, okay, we've seen Crystal Power Jewels, and I was really hoping it was going to be one, because watching big red buttons annihilate people is probably the most enjoyable experience in Vainglory you'll ever get. I'm just saying, just putting that out there. Truth, I'm a little bit disappointed, but, you know, weapon power probably for the best as you got Lone Delphi. They're going to push into upon the Original's jungle. Rocket Leap is going to displace him, in fact stun him up. Bright Bulwark's going to be there as well to snare him. They are just crouching between these two turrets. Truth has to make his way out, and a Solar Storm will snipe him off. Now Lone Delphi in a 1v3 situation as Eco has just gone out of there completely. Valkyrie did come down, but Hammy is going to be there to finish off the kill and get the shutdown.
Yeah, and Hammy back on one of those hyper carry laners. This Celeste is so potent when she gets to that late game. The only difficulty here is, what is Hammy's defensive item he's going to commit to is, you know, for the most part, a Celeste is going to go with 4 offensive items, boots, and then 1 defensive item. There's not a horrible amount of crowd control on the side of Nova, but they are pretty easy ones to land. So will it be, you know, that Aegis, or will we go into the Metal Jacket? I think the Aegis just lets Truth do too much damage when engaging into Hammy. It is going to come down to, obviously, Pawn the Original and Evil doing their best job to prevent Truth from being able to just jump onto Hammy uncontested, because if Jewel gets on Celeste for even a second, if he blocks the core collapse, Hammy dies. I mean, that's just the end of it. So it's going to be relying almost 100% on Pawn and Evil to help Hammy carry this one.
Nice route. Core Collapse comes through. Does end up getting blocked. Now it is Truth's time to party. Jumps on top of Pawn. However, he does dodge out. Divine Intervention will heal him up as well. Big red button's going to get popped. But like you said, no crystal power is only going to tickle Pawn on the exit. Rogue will end up surviving that engagement for the moment. But Truth, as soon as he sees that Core Collapse go down, it's go time for him.
Yeah, you know, that's a pretty sizable cooldown here in the early game for Celeste. Obviously, as she levels it up, it will chunk a few seconds off of that, as well as getting the clockwork online will be massive for him as well. The additional 50% cooldown will help him, you know, with his defense in a sense, since you'll have that additional crowd control available. And then we'll also see those solar storms flying all more to rain down the terror. But, you know, Truth, you know, getting into this monocle here, he's about 1,000 gold short. This is going to be where Jewel really starts to ramp up. At level 8, overdriving those Thunder Strikes does allow them to critically strike, and because they hit multiple enemies, you can then weapon power critically strike upon the original Evol and Hammy in a single Thunder Strike if you line it up at a good time.
Well, if we take a small verse out of the Suijay book, where does Lance like to fight? In corridors? But guess what? So does Truth when he's got those critically striking Thunder Strikes. Although maybe a little bit caught out, does actually block the Impale instead this time. And he will just learn his lesson, not going too aggressive when Pon the Original is just around the corner, especially with that Sorrow Blade online. You mentioned he just wants that hard hitting base damage of that Sorrow Blade just to pack a punch in these fights. Hammy starting to scale up as well, like we mentioned, looking to go that Broken Myth for the second item.
Yeah, and more importantly, almost level 8, almost at the point in the game that he has those overdriven Helios where they'll have the increased range, and that makes it so much easier for Hammy to poke out some damage onto Nova before a fight. Could potentially force a Imperial Sigil out of eco before a fight even starts. And now with Nova rotating down, this is an interesting position for Rogue to be in. They can just push this turret, or they could collapse, as it is Lone Delphi rotating through the jungle. Actually, he's coming back over.
Yeah, he's just going to steal away some of the fronts from Rogue. And they did say it actually on the desk, mentioned. Game number 1 was very much a Rogue game. Game number 2, Nova completely flipped it around and played Rogue at their own game. And it looks like, if you remove the name tags, it looked like game number 1 all over again with Rogue in the driving seat. This game, a little bit more even. We've got a couple of picks that these players, you know, they've been picking up ever so often, but we normally obviously see the Lance on Evol, for example. Jewel, we've seen a resurgence in as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this game does progress from here on out, because like you mentioned, Truth, if he does get his hands on Hammy, is going to get deleted. Broken Myth, though, has been finished. Now Rogue, are they going to look for a small siege here, because they've got the wave clear, they've got the damage, but Truth might be in a little bit of trouble. Core Collapse does end up missing, forcing a boost already out of Hammy, and Evo's going to pay the price. Rocket Leap underneath the turret, Valkyrie's going to strike, doesn't find the stun, but Hammy is in a lot of trouble here. Thunderstrike does miss from Truth, but now his eco is all up to him underneath that turret to try and do something. Pon the Original in a lot of trouble. Big red button's going to get unleashed. Nova can't quite find the kill on Pon. They all dive straight underneath the turret once again, but a beautiful Impale will find eco. A triple or double kill even for Pon, and Hammy will finish up the rest of the team. That's an ace now for Rogue.
That is an ace and a first turret for Rogue. And what was crazy about the end of that last fight, Pon the Original actually impaled into the Arcane Passage, but because he landed first, the damage did go through. He found himself that double kill. It did result in Hammy finding it here. We'll get back into it here. So as Rogue comes in, they get some damage down onto Truth early on, but Truth turns that aggression right around onto Evil. They take him out early, and then in a 2v3, Rogue manages to find a way to turn it around. The flask was popped by Hammy. At that point, here's Pon getting a ton of damage down onto Truth. The big red button is going to miss, and then, you know, we'll see here in just a second. Here comes that triple impale, double impale, and he's able to find 2 kills. And meanwhile, Hammy finds the kill onto Lone Delphi, and they take a sizable flip around here. And, you know, it was looking really even, but now, with the objectives in the lead for Rogue, this Celeste can really start to take off.
Boy, the control of the lane is definitely in their favor. Hammy's in a lot of trouble though. Divine Intervention was used to heal her up. Nice passageway engagement from Eco, but they couldn't quite find anything. Lone Delphi on the wrong side of the lodge. He's going to have to get out of there soon. Another Holy Nova does land. A Solar Storm onto 2 members of Rogue as well. Pon is chasing up here. Impale off cooldown in a couple of seconds. But Nova, without that turret to retreat to, they're going to have to walk back even further down that lane, leaving Rogue a little bit of time in their jungle.
Yeah, Hammy is very low on energy, though. Here we go,
Or maybe not.
Jaws.
They're just going to go straight in again. Holy Nova is going to get used, does end up missing, but already dead. Lyra falls. Truth jumps in on the back line, but there's too much regeneration for Rogue. Divine Intervention will come through for Evil once again. They score the kill on Truth, and now they're going to siege up this second tier turret.
Yeah, definitely looking for it, but Delphi looking for something of his own.
Gotta stop fighting because they want to speak about the fights. Valkyrie comes down. Rogue ends up just stunning themselves up. Lone Delphi does end up surviving that small engagement, does end up clearing the wave, and that'll be Rogue just backing off for the moment.
Yeah, that's the most important thing for that fight. Delphi did put himself in a dangerous position coming out, but because of the fortified health, he was able to come in and actually force Rogue back pretty easily with that Valkyrie coming out, and then obviously the Imperial Sigil coming through from Eco as well, able to top him off. And now he's in healthy enough condition that he can look to even fight, at this point. He'll probably pick up this Treant as well, just top the regeneration off a little bit. Eve of Harvest is going to be his second item. He needs to get the Broken Myth online, though. He's able to ramp up very easily against the Lance, especially if he's able to dodge out of that Impale, because Lance is then locked up for a moment after he misses with that Impale. So, there's a lot of potential for this lineup that Nova has put together, especially with Truth working into his fourth item now. Not quite the glass cannon 100% at least this time around, as we do have the reflex block for him. But, Hammy, again, when he does get hit by these Thunder Strikes, Jewel will take him out quickly.
Well, they're taking out the turrets pretty quickly as well. Evil's going to find the nice Holy Nova. Pon comes in, is going to miss the Impale, and that passageway is sending people all across the map to spread across to the 4 winds. Hammy is just going to get chased down now, 1v1ing Truth, not where you want to be, but the Heliogenesis was just too good. Hammy now sending that Solar Storm out, will hit 2 members of Rogue, 9 breaking point, Broken Myth stacks even on Hammy. They managed to find the kill as well onto Lone Delphi, and now Eco, out of energy, out of time, and out of teammates, he's going to have to back off as now Rogue set their sights on the gold miner.
Yeah, they'll get this last life on the gold mine, but fortunately for Nova, the Kraken was not up. And we know how fast a Celeste can take objectives, so that's a little bit of a silver lining here for the side of Nova. Truth is back up. He has upgraded that Minion's Foot into the Lucky Strike. Will get him a little more critical damage and critical chance. And, Lone Delphi, now with the Eve of Harvest complete, will be able to sustain a little bit easier in these fights. But again, he needs to get defense. He has almost got that Aegis, but after that Aegis, he needs to go into the Broken Myth so that he can start to do the damage in return. Because as of right now, with the Aegis already complete on Pon, Delphi's not a huge threat to him, so he needs to at least get that Pierce stun line. Evil, obviously, with the Echo and the Divine Intervention, has done a great job keeping Hammy alive in these fights, and has even committed to a Metal Jacket. As we saw earlier, even as the captain, Truth was able to delete him in a matter of seconds, and that's not quite the case now that this Metal Jacket's online, and that allows Evil to save his consumables for his teammates.
Truth gonna jump towards the back line. Hammy in a lot of trouble. Divine Intervention doesn't quite find the mark. The Valkyrie finds him in the end. Not enough HP. That'll be Hammy going down, and Pon, the original, is going to fall as well. Those Thunder Strikes are a little bit too much. Caught out on the back line. No defensive items, and Truth says goodnight to your turret as well.
Yeah, 400 damage on every single attack, Jaws. This weapon, Jewel, is insane. Big red button for style points. Not quite gonna find the kill though, and that's just gonna be the free Kraken now going over to the side of Nova. There are 3 turrets that stand between them and a victory. Truth is very hurt, Eco is very hurt, but with the Kraken buff here, it's gonna top them off. Truth does have the gold to complete the monocle. He is gonna go that route, but that, however, does not leave him enough gold to re-infuse, and this infusion is burning down, already about halfway done, Jaws. And Delphi, not enough gold. Oh, he does have one in his pocket. Never mind. Delphi did have enough gold to infuse, and Eco did as well. So pretty good spot for Nova right now, as this Jewel is going to be able to chunk down this turret. You just have to be careful because of the range that Hammy provides the team.
The amount of damage Truth has been actually doing, his scoreline does not reflect it at all. He's 1-5 right now with 5 assists. Lone Delphi with the most kills on his team right now with the whole entire 5 of them. I mean, realistically, Truth, he's dishing out the damage. Speaking of dishing out damage, they're going to jump straight onto Hammy with that Bright Bulwark. Core Collapse is going to miss, and Truth gets impaled. Pon is already down. Valkyrie ends up just hitting and glancing Pon the original and Evol. Another Heliogenesis from Hammy will finish off the support. Lone Delphi gets chased up, and there now. That's going to be an ace for Rogue, and Kraken is going to get taken down before it does any more damage.
Evol could not have had better timing on the Holy Nova at the end of that Arcane Passage. It was literally a death trap. We'll get into it right here. Choke point turret about to go down. Here comes the Arcane Passage, but a triple Holy Nova gonna lock up Nova, and then it's only a matter of time before Hammy turns the damage around. And then, with only Lone Delphi alive, it is going to be Hammy cleaning up an additional kill for himself, sitting nicely at 9-2-4. They're able to stock the Kraken before it does too much damage to their base. Realistically, Rogue only lost out on 1 turret there for an ace and a Kraken. So net gold going into Rogue's favor, but that choke point turret being down is maybe not the most comfortable position to be in. You now have no baseline defense if you're running back towards that base, and obviously the chase that Eco is able to bring to his team here with the War Treads, with the Arcane Passage. Truth does have a good opportunity to get into that backline. Eco just has to be ready to pop that Crucible when he comes in.
Another scary aspect of the team composition as well, Day, is the fact that Nova can attempt to backdoor with that passageway. Truth melts turrets. 2 monocles, Tornado Trigger, and the Sora Blade. A couple of Thunder Strikes, hey, that turret's as good as dead. That is going to crumble right in front of you. And that is going to be a scary thing that Rogue have to keep in mind. They have to keep it right there in front of them saying, Nova can backdoor. It is a possibility for them to do that. They're going to have to play safe. They're going to have to get vision down, which is kind of lacking at the moment. You can see a couple around some of the camps, but realistically, in fact, both of these teams at the moment, their vision not up to par, and you could say that's down to a lot of the itemization choices they're going and the inability to buy scout traps at the moment. But for Rogue right now, vision is a top priority that they need to make sure they're on top of.
Yeah, and you bring up the backdoor with the Arcane Passage and how Jewel just destroys turrets like they're nothing. I'd even go as far to say that in the right circumstance, Truth could backdoor by himself with just Lone Delphi and Eco stopping those recalls. Truth would easily have the time, I mean, even if they gave him 30 seconds to get into that base, there's just nothing Rogue's going to be able to do about it, unless if they kill Delphi and Eco quickly.
Well, posturing around the Kraken now. It has only just spawned. There comes the passageway. Bright Bulwark comes out as well just to stop them from moving. Truth on the back line already. Divine Intervention to heal up Hammy. Another one will come through as well. The guy is still alive and still kicking and punching. Truth is going to go down. Eco soon to follow. And now Lone Delphi is only just managed to kill Hammy. But has he got the damage to follow it up? The Kraken has joined the fight as well. Pawn is just trying with all his might to take him out. But that fortified health, a little bit too much for him. Lone Delphi, the last survivor, the lone survivor, trying to take out Pon, aggroing the Kraken, can't quite find the kill. Only Nova goes a little bit wide. Nova, they are on the ropes. That'll be another Divine Intervention, and now Rogue, they feel confident in trying to take it to them. This might just be an ace here, but the Impale goes a little bit wide. I think a chase a little bit too far for Rogue. Truth might just come up. Not quite. Rogue, they find the ace.
Rogue finds an ace, and with Kraken on the board and Hammy coming up quickly, I'd even look to start up this Kraken. They are turning their attention that way, but Eco and Truth are here. We know the raw amount of damage a Thunder Strike can do, so if Truth comes in, if he sees this is going on, there's a very real scenario where Truth is able to steal this and Rocket League out to safety. So Rogue has to be careful here. They might even look to just turn their attention onto Nova.
Well, they do have Echo and the double divine intervention, so keep that in mind. Hammy is moving towards and chasing Truth away. Thunderstrike takes about a third of his HP. Impale does get blocked. A Rocket Leap out of danger. A Solar Storm will follow him, and that'll dissuade him enough for Rogue to secure that Kraken. War Treads are going to get popped. I'm not sure they're going to be able to find anything, but at least getting that Kraken marching down the lane is going to be more than enough for Rogue to start their march and advance on the base.
Yeah, and it's very important for Truth to get this defense built. He has committed so much gold into infusions that they have not been able to find fights on, that he has not completed the Aegis, and Hammy is able to delete him so easily. Now, if they're able to find a kill here, if they're able to kill Hammy, even just Hammy, they can essentially just base race. You know, at this point, Eco will be able to heal them up. There won't be a consistent amount of damage coming through out upon the original. So that's really what Nova has to be looking for here. Arcane Passage.
Passageway in. A beautiful Holy Nova stuns up 3. In Truth, Githian ward against the wall as well. Divine Intervention to heal up Hammy. Lone Delphi in the 1v2. A Solar Storm hits him, and it hits. Did that hit Truth as well? Across the map, double hit, I think. I'm not sure if it did. It looks stylish if it did here. To nominate, they're going to chase down Nova. Eco's the last member alive. Going to take him out, and the base is as good as theirs. An ace for Rogue, and they are just going to end it right here, right now. 20 kills to 7. Rogue are going to face TSM in the finals a little later on.
Absolutely beautiful plays at the end of that game by Rogue. Hammy throwing out a couple of those cheers, getting some dancing action here out of the Celeste. But that is, as you mentioned, Rogue going to be facing off now against TSM in the finals. But TSM, you know, they looked absolutely on their A game today. So that is going to be an incredibly exciting matchup, Joss.
Going to be pretty intense, I'll tell you that. And with Truth, the amount of damage he was dishing out in the fights was just incredible. But he just got as deleted as quickly as Hammy did as well. That's going to be Nova falling, and Rogue facing TSM, like you mentioned in the finals. To break that series down, though, we've got the analysts over on the desk.